All right, we're recording. So members present, PJ Kaiser, Jason Bridges, Richard Hussey, myself, staff, Rick is here, and Terry for minutes. Thanks, Terry. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good morning, Stephen. How is everybody?
Getting there.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Jeff.
I will make the note that we are being audio video recorded. This may be shown on the town's YouTube channel. Please don't share anything on the screen or say anything you don't want to be shared in public. Get a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Richard, on your motion.
Aye.
PJ,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and I'm an aye also. No members of the public here to comment. We've got minutes, August 25th. Any comments on the minutes? Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
Richard.
Aye.
Excellent. PJ,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and I'm going to abstain. And so here this morning to review capital requests and some out-year discussion for natural resources and the police and marine departments. And with that, I'm just going to jump right over to Jeff. You're up first on our agenda. So if you want to go ahead. Good morning, Charlie.
Morning.
Jeff, if you want to just go ahead and get us started, that'd be great.
Sure. I'll try to walk everyone through as quickly as I can. Just kind of in order of what we're looking at here. So the first one that we're looking at here, the Millie's Bridge redesign with construction. Hopefully everyone got some of the supplemental information we have as we're actually looking at in the first year. I apologize, I'm trying to bring it up from my own. We're looking at a little different project where we're looking at maintaining that bridge, doing kind of the inspection, any redesign and upgrades to that bridge, but then also starting to work on the feasibility for dune restoration, coastal protection, kind of for the stretch in front of that bridge and towards the corner of Mattocket and Ames. And then I think now we're looking at possibly extending some of that work past the town parking lot on Chicago Street, where we've channeled the beach parking to kind of protect that entire area and protect that bridge. So what we're looking for this year is the funding to complete all of the design and permitting for that and beginning the inspection and maintenance project on Millie's Bridge. I know we're looking at kind of an effective life if we maintain Millie's Bridge till about 2050, and then we're starting to see some of the projections for sea level rise and coastal change and shoreline change maybe substantially impacting that bridge by that point. So I think we are trying to put together a more comprehensive long-term plan to get access out to that Smiths Point neighborhood, but trying to make sure that we still have access while that's being put together. So that's kind of that project in a nutshell. I think from our projections on that, I think that $1 million is probably pretty close for design and permitting of all of that, and then the inspection and any initial maintenance on that bridge. For that goes. So do you want me to take questions as we go or just run through?
Yeah, why don't we do that? It looks like it's, it's a short list, and you've provided some good details with the attached documents in the database. Yeah, that's helpful.
Stephen, just quickly, where is that on this sheet that I'm looking at, the Millie's Bridge?
Richard, it's actually under transportation at the top, so different department.
Oh, okay. All right, okay, got it. All right, sorry for a stupid question.
No, not at all.
Yeah, just real quickly to that, one of the things that we're starting to see is a lot of these are covered under, between the hazard mitigation plan and the coastal resiliency plan, and then just some day-to-day operations of places like the DPW and our office and those. There's a lot of overlap, but I think what's driving the larger project for a project like Millie's Bridge is definitely the kind of the resiliency and kind of long-term resiliency component. So I think that's how that fell into our lap. So I think over time, we're going to start to see a lot of these projects that overlap quite a bit from different spots. But it's nice to be moving forward with all of them.
Okay.
Jeff.
Jason?
Yeah.
So is this a great example, Jeff, of this started off as one thing, Millie's Bridge reconstruction, and with all the work that we're doing with you and Coastal Resiliency, it just kind of grows, like you said, into a more long-term comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I think Millie's Bridge is really kind of the poster child for this, where we had originally looked at, you know, kind of a total redesign and reconstruction and dealing with that. But then as we started through the resiliency process and FEMA did those shoreline change projections for the town, really without us asking, and then just kind of put them together. And some of the modeling that Arcadis did, you know, we had to start asking questions like, does completely rebuilding this bridge in 2022 and investing that kind of money make sense? Or should we put the protection in place first, maintain the bridge, and then move towards that project, or a more appropriate project from what we're seeing, given the conditions that are changing? So I think this is a really good example of, you know, taking our time to make good decisions and try to make good fiscal decisions about where we should put in resources for these areas that are dynamic. So I think this is a really great project for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
If I could just add one thing, just as a crossover project, that the Marine has a dredging project, study planned for Mattocket Harbor. So there would be sand resources, dredge sands that would come out of there, which then could maybe tie into the coastal resiliency for Ames Street. So just, as I said, everything is overlapping.
Yeah, it's not as simple as it used to be, where it's just like one department that's just going to run the project start to finish. Now we seemingly have like a lot of people and someone trying just to be the hub of the wheel. So it's good. It's good that all these things are lining up time-wise.
Thanks. Yeah, I have no questions. I mean, I've read through it, and you're covering a lot of ground with this: feasibility assessment, surveying, permitting, modeling, and engineering. So very helpful. I think the just the overview with the drone shot is helpful. Give us an idea of what the areas of work are relative to just the geology, topography. I guess the only question I have, Jeff, is, this is obviously a sensitive issue to some folks because they live on the other side of the bridge.
Yes.
And it comes up in discussion, and I imagine, it might come up in further discussion, even at town meeting. So with that as the background, are you all, is there an outreach to the parties who have stated that they have a concern, or is this, you're not at that point yet, or?
No, we've begun talking about this project in more detail with both. There's a pretty active group on Smiths Point of Smiths Point homeowners about what this project looks like. And then we've been talking to kind of both Mattocket conservation groups. There's the, I always get them wrong. There's the Mattocket Conservation Trust, and then there's the other Mattocket homeowners group for this whole area. And we actually did a pilot project. If you look at the picture where some of it was, where we did some initial planting for dune grass and shrubs, that was through a grant from the Mattocket Conservation Association. So we've been involved with them from the start. We were involved with them from there, but we definitely, as this goes through, we'll have to do a lot of outreach to keep those folks in the loop.
Okay. Yep. Thanks. Helpful information. All right. You want to go to the next one if there's no other questions? My comment on dredging, design, and permitting.
Sure. So the My Comment Pond design and permitting, this is actually year 2 of this project. Currently, we are in a funding cycle where we receive funding to do the design and permitting for the dredging of My Comment Pond. And this next follow-up piece to that, the $4 million in FY24, is related to the actual dredging of My Comment Pond. From the projections that we have on the amount that will be removed. There are some groups, the land bank has indicated that they're interested in contributing a significant portion for the project, and there is a private homeowner that has done the same. So we're keeping them involved, but the main purpose of this dredging is obviously to really tackle the benthic loading within the pond and the nutrients that are coming from the sediments that are already there. trying to get back to a coarse sandy bottom. And then obviously as we do a better job controlling the inputs into the pond, hopefully not having to take substantial management actions within Maya Comet Pond for probably for as long the rest of us are involved with these committees and doing things, hopefully. Be my grandkids that are hopefully having to deal with something like this. So it's year 2 of that project.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions for Jeff at this time? Jeff, not really on the project, but more to Rick. Rick, I think it'd be helpful at some point, obviously, to know whether this is going to be the 1.5 from the land bank and the 1 million potential contributions are going to be front loaded, or are they going to be on a reimbursement basis based on actual cost? And that'll address, not only just general information, but will include that as a footnote. Richard, when I say footnote, I'm keying you to just to be aware that that might be something for the report basis, with you being one of the individuals on the work group.
Yep.
Okay. All right, next up, the harbor management plan.
So this is the 3rd year of this project. We are actively in the updating phase right now. We have our contractor, Urban Harbors Institute, who did the 2009 plan. Working on that update. We'll hopefully be constituting the harbor plan committee again here shortly and getting our notice to proceed from Mass Coastal Zone Management. And this 3rd year, $100,000 is to kick off the implementation of the action items that are developed within that plan. The plan should be done pretty close to the start of next fiscal year, if not a little bit over. We got a little bit delayed our first 2 years. The amount that the project was going to cost exceeded the original $100,000 by just a touch. So it ended up pushing a year. That coupled with COVID delayed us a little bit, but this is the 3rd year and kind of the big piece to get the implementation committee going and get all the outreach done that's necessary and start on whatever action items are developed through the plan update.
Thank you. Questions or thoughts for Jeff on this at this time? Okay, Jeff, I think the only thing I've got is I'm kind of curious. I understand, obviously this is to work in hazard mitigation and coastal resilience into the existing plan. And I might have missed the bite at the apple already, but I'm curious if under the hazard mitigation and coastal resilience heading, there could be any investigation of whether some type of a outlet at the haulover to try and address the heavy nutrient load that exists in the head of the harbor there. I mean, as you know, it's probably how many feet thick. And dredging, the idea would be that if something like that is considered a potential benefit, I'm not suggesting without the science it would be something the town would jump into, but the idea being that if it could be worked into discussion, determined viable, it's therefore identified earlier, because for me, the longer term is on a dredge plan. If it was ever determined to get that sediment out of there, I don't know who's in control of flushing and out into the ocean, but it seems like it might be not a bad way to proceed versus having it all that turbidity being flushed back through the up by the Cotu and Horsehead and the jetties. But it's just a comment. You don't even have to comment on it if you don't want to, but it's been on my mind. And one last thing is I understand that having an outlet in some instances can actually be beneficial with respect to a couple of things. One is with super high tides. Another is due to the diurnal nature of the tides, it can add to relieve some of the pressure and the flooding and just a host of things. So anyways.
So yeah, really quickly, I think you'll be excited to know in this current capital funding, one of the projects that we're doing is the sediment transport study for Nantucket Harbor. And that's kind of the initial look at that. And then we've also been doing some work where we've been talking with the trustees of the reservations as the property owners that kind of are most affected through there, and the Conservation Foundation. They've been doing some shoreline modeling through that area too, and trying to put that together. And I know we've scoped a project for doing kind of the modeling for just what you're looking at as far as breaching that, whether it's natural or man-made, and what the effects and what would happen there. Kind of partnered with those two groups, and then they've also reached out and have some funding from a third party to cover that the town may be able to get most of that project done, looking at that specific breach point, kind of free of charge and just as a participant in that project. But I'll definitely, maybe I'll connect with you outside of this meeting, Stephen, with some of the information on that, since you seem to be interested and it's not directly in the capital process for where that project is.
Thanks. Feel free, PJ.
Yeah, if you could keep me in the loop on that as well. Just I know a number of interested parties that have long been discussing trying to have some kind of flow through at the head of the harbor, and all the different obviously they're not proven, they're not science-based, but just theories on how that could be a very, very important and just high priority kind of solution to water quality in the harbor. So would be much appreciated. It's good to hear that that's actually something that the conversation's being had about.
Yeah, it's definitely a kind of a high priority number for us. It's actually a priority 2 item out of the coastal resiliency plan to kind of do that modeling through there. And I think, to be perfectly honest, and not to be kind of off the cuff, we're all kind of tired of getting asked that question. I think we'd like to get an answer and be like, this is what it is, this is what it's not, this is what it will take to do, these are the impacts, and then let everyone have the discussion and make a decision from there about whether it seems like a good idea or not. But I think everyone has different thoughts on it. It'd be nice to get something together for people to really have a good discussion with. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's definitely in the works.
Great. It might even be a relief point for our runoff with the Green Lawns, Brown Harbors point. But yeah, look forward to it and appreciate the information you've just provided.
Sure. Happy
Okay.
to share.
Anything else for Jeff while he's here? Richard?
But just 2 quick questions on funding from last year. Just a quick update on the plan and design for Baxter Road and on your vehicle replacements.
Sure. So vehicle replacements first is we've been working with the Central Fleet Manager, Dave LaFleur, out of Public Works, and have some quotes that have gotten sent to us from our normal vendor for providing the trucks that we get. There was a little bit of backlog on trucks for a little while for obvious supply chain reasons. But right now it looks like we're on target to hopefully have those 2 vehicles within the next couple months, as long as Dave can kind of keep the ball rolling for that. But we have the specs ready to go, so that's well underway. The Baxter Road relocation project is also well underway. That's something that our coastal resiliency manager, Vince Murphy, has been working with our consultant, Arcadis, pretty diligently on. I know actually just before this meeting, we had a gentleman in the office here to sign kind of a consent form that we've put out for all of the homeowners along that stretch of Baxter Road to allow for some field surveying and locating and trying to really make some progress to locate where all of that alternative access would go and where it would make some sense in an effort to get those shovel-ready plans, shovel-ready plans ready. So that project is definitely full speed ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Just to clarify, Jeff, I don't mean to rush out the door. We would like to talk about upstairs. What I'd ask is if you could stick around. It looks like the Marine Department is as Charlie had mentioned, there's a dredging. So it might be good to have you involved. I'm cognizant of the fact that we might lose our quorum at 10:30 unless somebody signs in. So we got, 9 or 10 minutes and we'll see where we can go. Charlie, with that, we'll pass the baton to you.
Stephen, sorry, can I just say, there's two more projects that
Oh, I thought he only had 3.
Jeff has. He's got the baseline environmental data on line 21, and then the coastal resilience plan on line. Everything in blue is Jeff's, and everything in gray is.
Oh, okay. My apologies, Jeff. Well, let's just keep going with you then.
All right, no worries. I'll try to go really fast, leave Charlie at least a few minutes. I sent some pretty extensive materials for the baseline environmental data program. And then long story short is what we're seeing is we're designing a lot of projects and creating a lot of things where we need to be able to have actually measurable results and measure results that make some sense. And we've been kind of piecemealing a lot of these things together over time through grants and gifts and those things. But I think departmentally, we really felt it important to start to tackle some stormwater sampling and stormwater monitoring to get some pre-data before stormwater management plan and regulations get developed, and hopefully some new systems go in. I know we're really focused on doing that eelgrass and scallop survey. We're in like year 4 of that now. And that's been going really well. We'd like to move that program to Mattakit as well to get a handle on those things. We're also following up. We're doing the groundwater mapping and nutrient study for Nantucket Harbor in this year's capital funding, but moving out and doing groundwater sampling related to some of our other watersheds as well is added in there. And then we've just rolled in our normal nutrient sampling contract with SMAS into that proposal as well. I know it's a lot to kind of take in, but I think what it will give us is a really good baseline. It gives us a chance to implement some management options and then really be able to deliver whether there are changes or not, or whether things are being effective or not, because we actually have data behind the results. So that's kind of what it is. I think it's better if I take questions on that if people have any, or if it seems to make sense that that's even better.
Yeah, no, any questions, Jeff, at this point? Jeff, I guess just, I noticed there's a stormwater, a little bit of money in there for stormwater planning with respect to, turning gray water clear again. Is that something that you think the $100,000, is that just an initial amount? Do you think that's sufficient for what we're looking as a community to accomplish? Just curious.
So that's just for us to be able to, I think we're going to put together something that we do similar for the harbor to create actual sample points for our outfalls that get into the harbor. So we know specifically what we're trying to deal with, especially as we redesign stormwater systems close to the harbor for what we need to be taking out, so we can make sure that we're getting what we expect. Because right now the town doesn't really do any stormwater sampling. So that will kind of get us in the game to do that and provide that yearly testing capability. And then if we have any really significant events, enable to us to make sure that we're not seeing any impacts related to stormwater in our water bodies. So that's just to kind of get going. I can't imagine it changing over time. In total honesty, I could see a little bit of those amounts that are broken out shifting around a little bit as we move forward, as doing eelgrass and scallops may go down over time. Stormwater may go up over time, but I think it will balance out in the end.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to your next one.
And just really quickly on the coastal resiliency planning, this is a number that we've been carrying for town administration. And really simply, we've been doing a really good job of going through the priority list in the coastal resiliency plan. We're most of the way through the list or projects active for the #1 priority list that I included. And #2 is a little bit underway. And this $1 million goes to implement and put together the start to those projects. I know we've used some of these monies for grant matching purposes for things like the in-town flood barrier that's under investigation and under a grant application right now to kind of fully flesh out. But I think we're really looking at some of this where we're looking at a little bit more of that numerical model of CO2, stormwater management plan, some of the Surfside emergency access planning. Those are all priority 2 projects that would come out of this money. We just didn't break all of them out separately right now because those priorities in the order of those projects hasn't been set, because there's still some public input and say so from places like the select board and the general public for the order that those need to go in.
And what do we anticipate the timeline is to get a little bit firmer on that scope?
Which scope specifically?
Well, the one you're mentioning, the project aspects of the project that need to be determined by select board and other parties' involvement. I'm just kind of curious, is that that's this fall? Is that
So that's something that CRAC is actively doing right now. So hopefully before the fall hits and before the start of the new year, we'll have gone through and determined which ones are needing to be done first.
Okay, I'm just keeping an eye out for, on our recommendation, just to be able to provide a little bit more detail.
Sure, and I'm happy to provide an update as that develops to you guys as well.
That'd be helpful, Jeff. We'll look for it. Okay, great. We're gonna go, I think at this point, that's your additional 3, correct? So I'm
That's it.
keep an eye on the time. I gotta say, you know, I understand people, you know, things happen and people are busy, believe me. But with a 7-member board, we need to have more than 4 people show up so we don't kind of accelerate through these. I just don't think it's fair to the process.
Yeah, I can hold on for another 5 too, just to give Charlie, you know, I know he only has
Alright.
2.
Yeah, and Peter, PJ, that wasn't directed at you. I mean,
No, I
get-
know, but I'm just saying so we can get through, you know, what we need to. I'm
Yeah, let's go. Let's hear from Charlie.
Fair enough.
going to go the extra bit.
Fair enough. Charlie, you're up.
Well, the first item is the maintenance dredging for Pulpus and Mattocket harbors. Pulpus was done in 2016, and it's starting to fill in again, that we're seeing. Mattocket was dredged in 1985, and that is definitely filling in. So this is the permitting and engineering money to get started, to figure out what the timetable will be. It's definitely going to be 3 to 5 years out by the time we actually get all our permits done, the way it's been going. So it's just a start.
Comments, questions? Okay. And on the replacing the DPW tank?
That item is should have been done 5-6 years ago. The prior DPW director sort of let it wither on the vine and didn't do any maintenance on it. So now it's failed completely. We're handling it, public safety is handling it because we have our own fuel system and also do the fire station. So we're running the project, and they have no fuel supply at the DPW yard right now. So they're having to come into town to fuel up. And if that tank in town goes, then it's a problem. So it should be done. And this is a hard estimate that we got from a contractor.
Thank you. Questions, comments? PJ?
Just so I'm clear, so the police department essentially is managing all 3 of the fuel tanks around the island at this
Yes.
point? Gotcha.
Yes,
Is that
we have an
just-
audit system that we run. We keep track of the usage and all that. So
Yeah, it's easier for one department to do all 3 than 3 to individually do each of their own and do the same thing 3
I don't
times.
know. Someone has to coordinate it.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it seems like short money for such an important asset, so.
Charlie, is this to replace the tank, installation, all that stuff? Is there a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff you
they
to
have
go?
an abandoned tank out there right now. It's kind of a hazmat issue. That tank needs to be cleaned, emptied, and disposed of. And this is to replace what they have out at the DPW yard.
Will that happen in the next fiscal year if it passes?
Yeah, it's a fairly short project. Yeah, this will be done by summer, I would hope.
Thank you.
Save a lot of gasoline from having to come into town and go back out there for, simply fuel up.
Just the man hours lost as well.
And that, I mean, time is money, but fossil fuels and all that too. I'm sure people will be cheering, not having to waste them.
Okay. Charlie, if you got anything in and out here you want to hit on at this point with a 60 seconds, or you're good?
Not really. I mean, it's self-explanatory. The painting is just way out. We did painting of this building 3 years ago, and it was 60,000, and it's going to be for the whole complex in 10 more years. That's where we see it. And the duty firearms, again, it's a placeholder budget item that something that comes up, every 10 years or so.
Okay, fair enough. I may have some questions if I can't suss them out on the Pulpus and Mattocket harbor dredging maintenance plan. If I do, I'll direct them through Rick to you. But
Sure.
in the interest of time. Okay, because we've got some other business to wrap up. Richard?
Just one quick question. Charlie, can you update us on the progress on the Loran seasonal housing repair?
poor. We just got bids back yesterday, $2 million over budget.
Hmm.
So we're looking at that now. So that project won't be going through. We'll be doing the hazmat mitigation because that project has to definitely get done. So the asbestos removal, we're going to do that this fall, winter. But the rehab of the facility and the sewer and mechanical systems will have to be put off for another year, and we'll have to reevaluate. The cost of everything is just insane. It's unbelievable. And trying to do a budget, a year in advance for something that's coming, we're going to have to start building in percentage escalators on hard estimates that we think we're good at, just so we can move forward.
Rick?
So Charlie, does that mean you're going to want to put something in FY24 as supplemental funding for Loran?
Yeah, as I said, I just got the bids back yesterday. I have to talk to the architect and town administration and see what the plan is, but I would anticipate something coming.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate the heads up. All right, thanks for coming in, Charlie. And we're gonna just move to close the meeting before we lose a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So our next meeting is gonna be Thursday, the 8th at 10 a.m. I'll touch base with the other membership, make sure we're gonna not have a quorum issue. With that, just thank everybody for coming. And Jeff, I see you there. Thanks again for coming. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to that other information you volunteered. And please send it through Rick, if you don't mind.
No problem.
And with that, a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Oh, we got a double. Richard, on your motion?
Aye.
PJ?
Aye.
Aye, Jason?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Hey, thanks again, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, guys.